Oggi a Itali-Echo parliamo di opera. If you're new to this channel, don't forget to subscribe. Click on Iscriviti, subscribe. It's totally free. So today my guests are two great opera performers, Olga Lisovska, originally from Ukraine, and Giovanni Formisano, originally from Torre del Greco, Naples, Italy. So Giovanni is moving back to Italy and he will be performing a farewell concert, Arrivederci, in Gloucester, Massachusetts, on June 23rd from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. This event is not to be missed. Stay tuned for more details. So let's start with my first guest, Olga. So, where did you guys meet and how long have you been performing around?
I was in a production with our mutual friend Alexander Prokhorov, and the production was very unique. It was actually opera, but a parody on opera. So there were famous hits from various operas and musical theater, and we were kind of there was doing comedy with that, and which is really fun, and the audiences loved it. And so Giovanni, if I'm not mistaken, you just recently came to the United States, and you were still a student or just graduated from Lodge. You'll correct me, but you were singing the Pirate King, weren't you?
In that particular production,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
believe it was, and yes, it was basically a blend of everything, and which Sasha, thank God for him because he was one of the first ones to believe in me and get me started on this journey, and yes, it was. I remember. I mean, I wish I could remember more clearly, but even the production itself was so just you know, I mean, amazing, and at the same time, I don't want to say confusing. Confusing sounds bad. Sounds it's a bad thing. It wasn't. It was all that creativity at once. I never been part of. So I remember the one vivid thing I remember because then later on in another concert I got to play the bunny in that Russian cartoon scene, Beef Puff Oi Oi it was called, and basically yeah, parts the last part of it is the cadenza from Carmen, the tenor aria from Carmen, and that which later on I end up singing the tenor role in Carmen still with Alexander. So he took me through the whole path, and then finally gave me the role of Don Jose as well. So it's one of those things. It's really hard to forget.
Giovanni, you were, young. We're still in our 20s, and we were young. And I remember Giovanni clearly, like a true tenor. He was singing his heart out. Trying to sound as loud as possible.
Yes.
And everybody was like, "Oh my goodness, what a voice!" The voice was there. The voice was very impressive, very resonant. Of course, since then, Giovanni and we've performed many, many times. I don't know how many times, like, I want to say like close to 100
Yes, I
performances
think so.
together in various repertoire, operas with orchestras, in opera productions and in concert at Carnegie Hall and all of that. And I am amazed, like hearing Giovanni's voice when we just met, when he was in his 20s, and now an amazing journey. He definitely is, I think one of the best tenors in the world.
Yeah, that's too kind of you to say, Olga, but I owe a lot of that to, you are one of the people because, maestra like you tells me those things. It's can only be humbling, and that's it.
So, guys, are there any future performances together in Italy or in the US?
Well,
Absolutely.
if I
Yes.
may, in Italy, that there are things in the works. It's we, that's we're always working to get something put together with Olga and I. So that's definitely to come. But our closest will be very very soon, and that's on June 23rd. in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And I will let Olga give a lot more of the details because first, she's much better at speaking than I am, and because she remembers a lot more than I do. And she will tell you what they say about tenors is true. They can only concentrate on their own line, not even on music, just on what their part, most of us. The rest is just, she will tell you the rest. How's that?
That's why, people love him so much because he is so humble. And Giovanni, we hear everybody, we know what an amazing person you are. And you are way too humble, which is definitely an amazing thing to have. And at the same time, it makes us feel so good, to be your friends and to be your partners on stage, because here he is, kissed by God, the golden voice. Not many people have such an incredible talent as him. And here he is with such humble attitude that it makes everybody feel at ease right away. And we just, all of his friends, they just adore Giovanni, and it's just always a true pleasure to be performing with him. And he's also an incredible musician with an amazing memory and the sense of style. So he probably doesn't, because he's so modest, he doesn't like to say this, but I am not modest for him. So I can talk about him. And whenever you listen to Giovanni perform, you pretty much are in the presence of greatness. That's what my personal opinion is. And so June 23rd is going to be our last concert in the United States before Giovanni moves to Italy. So it's a very special, historic event. It's going to be actually at the private home of those people that you sang the bunny role in your 20s. Nicholas and Katerina Shapliko. It's a house of arts. It's a new venue. They have another venue in Somerville, which is very famous, featured on Netflix. This one is completely new. They built it literally like a year or two ago, and then just opened it to friends and family and new friends, the audience members. It's in 19 Old Salem Road in Gloucester, Massachusetts. And, all the information, if you want to find out more about this concert, is musicartsfashion.org.
Thank you, Olga. And I would like to know from Giovanni, what is it like for such good friends to perform together on stage?
Well, I'll briefly say, my pathway to opera has been not your conventional one, if you will, because I started fairly late. I was almost in my 30s when I had my first voice lesson, and so it's just it was always nerve-wracking to having to catch up to people who have been doing it their whole life, and when you are surrounded by colleagues who are good to you and understand you, it makes it for an easy experience, especially when, just to make a quick example, to those who know the opera Turandot, I was probably 1 year into my voice training, and I was offered the role of Pong, which is one of the ministers with orchestra at Lowell House Opera, and I had 2.5 weeks to learn it. So I could only learn it with recordings because I wasn't reading music at the time. But then again, even in that experience, I was able well, I was surrounded by people, professionals, but were also very understanding and very kind, and helped me through that journey, and it made it easier. So I guess I was able to surround myself with these kind of friends and groups of people that were just able to be um, able to understand where I was coming from, and that doesn't mean to say that I wasn't responsible, and I took it upon myself to learn my part and show prepared. But at the same time, it's very nerve-wracking to be surrounded by, first time you look at an orchestra in a pit and you can understand anything. It's you're just trying to memorize your line and hear in your head what it sounds like. I mean, at the time I was living with my mother, and she said that she would walk by my bedroom and hear me say my lines in my sleep, because 2.5 weeks, and Olga will tell you, to learn such complex role, that was not easy. But I said, if this is what I love to do, I have to do it, and and it ended up, helping me out. But again, if you surround yourself with the right colleagues and who even know how to give you constructive criticism, because I think that's key. That was part of my attitude always since my first day of taking a voice lesson, is that I want to know the truth, because I can ask my mother to see if I sound good, and she'll tell me I sound good even if I'm coughing. But to have people that can be real with you, and you also want that, because that's how you learn, right? You ask people for constructive criticism and you take it to heart and you make yourself better. And I was able to surround myself with people like that, and that's helped me through my journey tremendously. And Olga's probably the best at that. And I know personally because she's been through some going through some really hard times, especially in the past maybe year. And I've never seen anybody take such an attitude like her, to learn and to put productions together and work hard with a family and going through hardship. That can only inspire you. And and being a musician like that and with that kind of voice and keep it healthy with everything. I mean, so I was, lucky. Here you go. Once again, to be able to have a friend like that as a performer, somebody to perform with, it's a true miracle in my estimation.
Giovanni, it's all mutual. Like when we come on stage with Giovanni, it's like, his family. We joke that he's my fratello. He jokes that I'm his sorella, because we have this amazing, rapport on stage. It's so easy. You don't have to kind of like, sometimes you get a partner that you feel a little not apprehensive, but not very comfortable, and so you try and act because you're a professional, but the chemistry is not there, or the discomfort. The audience is very smart. The audience can read all of this. So that is why when Giovanni and I, when we perform together, the audience just has a blast, because they see that we are having fun on stage. We're having a great time. And, it's really a blessing for me to have Giovanni in my life as a opera partner, stage partner, because we've performed for over 15 years together. So like when we come on stage together, we're like, okay, Giovanni, hello, let's go. We know our repertoire, and he is always such a steady musician, very sensitive musician. I don't remember actually even once that he would forget an entrance, or, I mean, I've performed with other partners on stage where it was nerve-wracking, because I know that they sometimes, enter in the wrong place, and that would set the whole thing like a train wreck. Never with Giovanni. So even though he says that he did not start until later in life, like his formal training as a musician or as a singer, his innate talent is so big that it really compensated for all the years. But also, what is really important to me as a voice teacher, he has the fire, the passion for the art, and he, even for like simple concerts, let's say private concerts, or not such high stakes concert like at Carnegie Hall, for example, but some simple, he prepares completely 100%, and his standard is very high. His standard to himself and his expectation of himself is very high. He records himself all the time, listens, learns. He goes to different coaches and is constantly improving, and that is definitely a mark of a true artist, because the true artist does not just sit at home and rests on his laurels. The true artist continues perfecting their craft, because that's what they're really truly passionate about. And another thing that Giovanni is really truly passionate about is his family, and so am I. So he has a beautiful wife, Juliana, with two wonderful, beautiful daughters, and I have my amazing husband, and with two sons. And so families for both of us, for Giovanni, his family, for me, my family, they are very important as well. So we understand each other on multiple levels. Giovanni as an artist, and Giovanni as a family man and father and husband.
Terrific. Thank you, Olga. A last question for Giovanni. What are your favorite duets to perform and what can we expect on June 23rd?
Well, for the expectations, I'm gonna say lots of Italian things. How about that? I want people to really be surprised. But of course, the major composers will be there: Verdi and Donizetti, Puccini. They'll all be present with us. And for the other part of the question, um, I would say I think it's all about, you can immerse yourself in the characters and the parts you play. And what I think it gives everybody a chance. Any artist will probably tell you this, to play a person that you're not. You can almost free yourself, relieve yourself of everything, and just for the hour that you're on stage and performing, you can be that someone. Now doesn't mean you're being that someone else and it's all free, and you're still, respecting the composers, what they wanted, and the character, who this character was, who the person was, and it's all part of that same excitement. But then when you pair it with sharing the stage with somebody like Olga, who you're so comfortable with, and who's such a musician and a perfectionist, that helps bring it all to, bring everything together. And you really are, you take something that's on a page, written on a page, and you bring it to life. That I think is the most satisfying thing, because it's exactly that. You take something that's written on a page that's been for everybody to interpret since the composer wrote it, and it's your job to bring it to life and to convey that message, to show people what you're trying to do and who that character was. I think at the end of a performance, any duet, whether you're in a restaurant in front of 3 people or in a theater in front of 1,000, it's your job to always bring that, because that's that message, and what those composers staying true to what they wanted to, even though you put your own, to it, your own artistry to it, your own touch, because again, in the same aria it's been performed, billions of times, so you bring your own, but it's also because you want to give that message to the people and bring that music to life. So I think to make all that happen, you need all of that, and then you're lucky enough to share it with somebody like Olga. So that's my
So what is your
That's
favorite?
favorite. See, I knew I wanted to avoid that altogether because everybody
Okay,
tells me.
yeah, I
But
know it's hard.
I would say our Rigoletto duets, because Gilda and the Duke. I mean, our Donizetti from
Elysium.
the Elixir of Love, because that's comedy. It's everything. That whole opera is amazing. And but then again, I'll keep going. That's why I wanted to avoid that, because I will say every duet of every beautiful Italian opera that ever existed. So yes, I would say top of my list are probably the Rigoletto, the Elisir d'Amore. We've done Puccini things too. So and our Don Jose Micaela stuff from Carmen as well. So yeah,
Yeah.
you'll start to get a favorite out of me.
So I'll tell you something interesting. Once we were performing together well, I did want to mention that we performed together at Carnegie Hall, and at Carnegie Hall we sang various repertoire, one of which was a duet from West Side Story. So Broadway, we've done that as well. We've done Bocelli, Sarah Brightman repertoire like Con te partirò, and I know that you, Viviana, did a wonderful duet with Giovanni, Vivo per lei, which is a really great duet. You did such a beautiful job. And so when we were performing at Mechanics Hall, was it last year, I think, so my husband, he always comes to all of our performances. He loves, my whole family, of course, loves Giovanni. My husband loves Giovanni. Both sons love Giovanni, especially my oldest, like Lucas, he's 18. My grandpa, not my grandpa, my father, so the grandpa of to my children, he thinks the world of Giovanni, because he's just so easy to communicate with, even though Giovanni doesn't speak Ukrainian and my father doesn't speak English or Italian. They still find a way to communicate. It's so easy to communicate with Giovanni. So anyway, my husband, of course, has heard it all, all the Puccinis, all the Verdis, all the, you know, Bernstein's, the Neapolitan songs. Of course, we should definitely mention that there's going to be Neapolitan songs on June 23rd, the Ukrainian songs. And then for the first time, we did Madama Butterfly duet. And my husband said, you know, I've heard it all, but that was something magical. So it's definitely, there is something about that Madama Butterfly duet that is, you know, between Giovanni and I, like our voices somehow blend just magically. And of course, Elisir d'Amore always is fun, but you will be able to see that on June 23rd.
Grazie Olga, grazie Giovanni. So see you in Gloucester next Sunday, June 23rd at 3 p.m. So thank you for joining us and buon viaggio Giovanni.
Ciao, grazie Viviana.
Thank you.